Have you ever wanted to make homemade egg noodles from scratch, but you thought it was just too hard? Well, I'm about to bust that myth with this Homestead kitchen skills. Hey friends, this is Angela from Art of Creation Homestead. You're in the kitchen with me again for yet another Homestead kitchen skills. And today we are making homemade egg noodles. I know you're thinking that's probably going to be hard. Not at all. Just takes 4 ingredients and less than an hour, and you've got homemade egg noodles. So let's get started. In this bowl we have 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour and 1 teaspoon of salt. So far, pretty easy, huh? Now we're just gonna take a fork, work that salt into our flour. Pretty easy so far, huh? Now we're gonna make a little bit of a well in the middle of our flour. Just something to hold our eggs. Because after all, they are egg noodles. So in this bowl, we have 3 large eggs. Aren't those beauties? Those are from our beautiful hens. Now, you want to beat them up really nicely. You want to just give them a good whipping until you start to see some bubbles starting to form around the edges, because you want all of it nicely incorporated together. See, now you're starting to see some bubbles. So now we are going to add 1 tablespoon of milk. And you want to make sure you hold aside another tablespoon or 2 of milk just in case you need them. Just in case your dough is a little too dry and you need a little bit more moisture. You can also do this with water, but I think you get a much more tender noodle if you use milk. So we are going to add our egg and milk mixture to the well that you just created. Now make sure you get all that egg out of there, because that is part of your moisture. So now, just this easy, you just stir those together. I'm telling you, it's crazy easy. If you guys have been with us for very long, you guys have seen me make fettuccine. Italian pasta is a little more time consuming. Still not hard, but a little more time consuming than just plain egg noodles. Plain egg noodles are so easy. You would never imagine how easy these actually are to make. But you're about to see it for yourself. And as you can see, your dough is pretty dry and shaggy. Don't go pouring more milk in yet, because your flour just has not had a chance to absorb all of the milk and eggs. So now we're gonna go in with our hands. You guys know the tools that God put at the end of my wrist are my favorite tools. So now, you wanna go in with your hands and squeeze it up. And this way you can tell if it needs more milk. Or even if it's a little too sticky and needs a little bit more flour. You can tell this way. And right now, I can tell you, we need a little bit more milk. But it's pretty dry today. So that, just like with any dough that I've taught you how to make, how dry it is depends on what you're gonna need. This could take anywhere from 1 to 3 tablespoons of milk. Right now, it's looking like it'll probably take about 2 tablespoons total for what I'm doing here. It'll probably take about 2 tablespoons to get it to where I want it. And see, now when it starts coming together in a ball like it is right here, when it starts coming together really nicely and you start getting a ball, you know that you have enough liquid and enough flour. So now we are going to put our dough out on a nicely floured surface because we need to give it a good knead. We knead this dough. Ha ha ha. Yes, I love corny jokes. So remember how I told you to knead? You fold over, push away from you. Now with noodle dough or pasta dough, it's a little different than that because the dough is a little firmer, it's a little tougher. So it's a little more firm to knead, so it's not as easy to fold over and push away from you. So you just kind of fold it and push. And you'll watch it getting smoother and smoother. As you do this, you'll watch it getting smoother and smoother until you start to see a nice smooth dough ball form. And as you saw, I raked some of that flour away because it appeared that there was probably a little too much flour there. So it's going to start to get a little sticky on you again. It's okay if it's a little sticky. It's going to be a little sticky. With that many eggs, it's going to be a little sticky. So it's fine if it's a little sticky. You just don't want it really, really sticky. If it starts to stick to your hands really bad or stick to your work surface really bad, then you want to add just a little bit more flour to your surface. But right now, it's doing really good. You want to knead it until a nice smooth dough ball forms. That should take about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how hard and fast you knead. I tend to knead pretty hard and fast, so it usually takes me more closer to the 5-minute mark. It's been about 5 minutes, and as you can see, we have a very smooth dough ball. It's very elastic. When you push on it, it bounces right back. It's very worked, very elastic. So now you want to wrap this in some plastic wrap. You want to let it rest. Where you've worked all those glutens so hard, you want to let them rest and relax for about 20 minutes. And I'll show you what it looks like when it's ready to roll out. It's been 20 minutes, and as you can see, the dough is very pliable now. It's nice and rested. Now, we're going to cut it in half because it's just much easier to work with half of the dough than all of it at one time. It's just much easier on you. So, all you need for this, you don't need any special equipment. You don't need a pasta roller. You don't need anything like that. All you need is your hands, a rolling pin, and a pizza cutter or a knife. That's all you need. Now, you want to lightly flour your surface. Don't flour it too harshly because your dough will skate around too much when you're trying to roll it out. And you want to have a piece of parchment paper laying over to the side that is generously floured to rest your pasta on as you get it rolled out and cut. So now you just want to start rolling it. You don't need a pasta roller or anything like that. You just need your hands and a rolling pin. And you want to roll this fairly thin, probably between 1/4 of an inch and 1/8 of an inch. It really depends on how thick or how thin you like your noodles. If you like your noodles more on the thin, robust side, go for a thicker noodle. If you like them thin, super paper thin, go for a thinner noodle. That's the glory of doing this yourself. You can make them as thick or as thin as you want. You can make them as long as you want. It's entirely up to you. As you can see, we're already close to that point. I'll show you what it looks like when we get to that point. As you can see, I've got it all rolled out. For what I'm doing with these noodles tonight, I'm gonna leave them a little more chunky because I am doing Amish chicken and noodles, And if you've ever had Amish chicken and noodles, you know the noodles are a little more chunky in that. They're a little thicker. But if what you're looking for is to do like buttered noodles as a side dish or something like that, you may want to go a little thinner. So these are probably, like I said, they're between 1/4 and 1/8. They're not completely 1/4 of an inch, but they're not completely 1/8 of an inch either. They're somewhere in the middle. And as you can see, I can't roll a straight rectangle or circle. So I'm gonna cut off these ends and cut those separately so that I can get more even noodle shapes, if that makes sense. So now you determine at this point how thick or thin you want your noodles. I want mine about 1/2 inch. They don't have to be perfect, and they're not going to be perfect because, as you guys know, I can't cut a straight line to save my soul out of torment. So they are not going to be even. But it doesn't matter. As you can see, I've got them all cut that way. Now I'm going to cut mine in lengths about like that. About a couple of inches long, 2 to 3 inches long. You can leave them as long or cut them as short as your heart desires, or based on the preparation. And see? Now you've got your beautiful egg noodles. And now you want to pull them all up from your counter. They may stick a little, but that's just fine. Now you want to transfer them to your parchment paper over here that is well floured. And now they can start drying just a little bit, because you actually want them to start drying just a little bit at this point. You want to leave these to sit here and rest and even dry out a little, because you will want them to dry out just a little bit. So we'll be back and I'll show you what they look like when they're ready to go into our nice hot broth. As you can see, my noodles are all rolled out and cut up. And like I told you, for the preparation that I'm doing, I left them a little thicker than I would have left them if I was doing a noodle side dish or something like that. So how long these cook depend on how thick you leave them. If you leave them thicker, like I did these, then you will want to cook them for about 10 to 15 minutes. If you roll them super, super thin, they will only take about 5 minutes. But you can taste them along the way, and when they are to your desired doneness, then of course you can stop cooking them. We will be back and I will show you these beautiful noodles when they are done in my Amish chicken and noodles. And Jason will get to taste these beautiful homemade egg noodles for you. My beautiful Amish chicken and noodles are done, and those noodles are absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait for you guys to try those noodles.
All right, here you go. Look at this beautiful noodles. It's hard to see because the light's shining off of it, but look at that. Beautiful noodles. What a great flavor. Good toothiness, because Amish noodles should be really thicker and have a bite to them. You know, they're not like a fettuccine or something of that nature. It's a good noodle, just good, thick, hearty, fantastic. I thank you guys so much for watching. Hey, we do appreciate it. My name is Jason. That's Angela Kay. It's Art of Creation Homestead. We love you guys. God bless you. Goodbye.